In this video, we will learn how to deal with matrices in our software. As we know that a matrix in mathematics has some rows and certain columns. Basic syntax for input in our software is matrix, then data, then n row, n column, by row, and dimension names. So data is nothing but a kind of vector. The vector he used to write just like c1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 and then close it in parenthesis. And row is the number of rows to be created, n column means number of columns, and by row means the entries of this vector will be put row wise. And dimension names will indicate that row names and row and column names. So here is an example here. M is going to be our matrix in which we are going to save certain data. So the basic syntax what we have seen here, the matrix data. So first we need a vector. So we are creating a vector here, C3 through 14. So it will create a vector with entries 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and up to 14. So there are certain numbers, and then number of rows is 4, and we are going to put them in row wise. So of course we have not declared here the number of columns, so by default it will take the required number of columns. So this is the command to print this matrix. So if you want it by column wise, you want to put these entry column wise, so we can write the same thing, but here we need to be write by row is false, so it will arrange by column. So how to define rows and columns name here, dimension name. So what we will writing here, so row names, we are going to create a vector row names. So as we know that characters will be entered in double quotes or single quotes, we can write like this. So row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and number of columns, column 1, column 2 and column 3. So these two vectors we have created. So another matrix we are going to make here. So P is a matrix. So entries the same thing, 3 through 14. Of course there are 12 entries, 3, 4, 5, 6 and then up to 14, and then there are required number of rows we are putting here 4, so number of columns will be definitely 3. So by rows we are put these entries by row, means in column first entry 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, something like this, and then when 4 row is completed, then it will start from the next row. So dimension names, and then list we are putting these two vectors, column vectors and row vectors. So they are names are column names and row names, so we are putting here and then we are printing it here. So let us see how it looks like when we compile them. I'm just using online compiler here. So here in M we are substituting these matrix. So M has entries from 3 through 14 and then number of rows, column, and then the same thing, same code is written over here. So let us execute. So here we see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So row by row true, so number of rows are 4, so number of rows are 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 rows, and of course there will be then 3 columns, because in total there are 12 entries. And then in the next what we see by row is false, then the entries will be coming through column wise. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and then all entries are there. And then next matrices, we are customizing the dimension name, row names, and column names. So column 1, column 2, column 3, row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. So for this, if you are writing by row is true, then it will be row wise, and if you are writing it as false, suppose we just want change FALSE, or he can just write here F. This will also work. So let us execute. So what we see that the entry is coming now row wise, sorry, column wise. So this is all about how to enter a matrix, how to write a matrix in our software.